Well, welcome to Better Human Dads podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Craig Hess. He's going to tell us all about what it's like to be a great dad. I've known Craig for a long time, and I can tell you he is an amazing dad. I've seen what he does and how he interacts with his kids. He has great relationship with them, and he brings just a great wealth of experience, a fantastic sense of humor. He's the one guy that makes me laugh all the time, and no pressure, but just saying that. So, Craig, welcome to the Better Human Dads podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. And yeah, no pressure. Craig, say something funny to start things, right? I'm not going to do that, but no.
Yeah, no pressure. No pressure.
Yeah.
Hey,
It'll show up sooner or later, I'm sure. But no, happy to be here. Really excited to see what you guys are doing with this podcast, and just looking forward to the experience. So,
well, we're fumbling along as we go, and but hey, first thing maybe you could share all about your family. Like
sure.
What does that look like?
Yeah, sure. So, I am. I'm currently working at SAIT. I'm the director of business development at SAIT and run the corporate training group. My wife, who honestly, truly is the better part of this entire household and operation here behind me. She has a tremendous job. She is so community minded and absolutely loves what she's doing, working at the Livingston Homeowners Association here in Calgary. And frankly, when you talk about being a better human dad, you probably should have her standing here beside me, because there's no way I would be a good human dad without her.
We have a surprise guest. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact.
Yeah, no, she. There you go.
She's listening.
Yeah. Who do we have waiting in the other room? But no, and then two absolutely terrific kids. Two kids that probably couldn't be a whole lot different. My daughter, 26, and very, very science-minded, is a equine vet tech. And my son, 24, has done the film and video production program at SAIT and is finding his way slowly in that industry. And it's a tough one. And, I think we are still very lucky to have them in the house with us, and very happy to actually, want to engage with us on a daily basis. So it's all good. It's, you talked about fumbling your way through the podcast. I don't know. I think it's very, in line with parenting, because oh my gosh, who doesn't fumble their way through parenting, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There's no great playbook.
That's for sure. So the first question for you is, we're using this phrase "better human dads," and for us, it's dads who want to be better at being a dad, but using the human connection. Just curious, what does it mean to be a better human dad?
Yeah, it's a great question. And Steve, I love what you're doing with this whole Better Human group work that I've seen you do over the past few years. And, for me, I really go to the human part of this question. And I think it's showing your kids what it means to be a good human and to be a better human. And it's also showing them that you are human. And I think that depends at the stage of life that they're at. Right. For the first couple of years of life, they really don't know what's going on. It probably doesn't matter too much whether you're modeling being a better human or not, as long as you're, feeding them and putting a roof over their head. But as you get older, it's very much trying to model all the things that you think being a good human is about. And then as they get even older, I start to think about late teens, early adulthood. That's the time it's okay to show them that you too are human, right? So,
good point.
In our dream room, we were talking about the fact that, just our prior history, and I've gone through a couple downsizings in my career, and those moments where it's okay to probably be vulnerable and share with your kids that, going through a tough time right now. As much as I want to protect and hide things, not necessarily hide things, but you don't want your kids to feel your pressures, but sometimes you got to show them that you are human. And this is what all part of being a person is trying to develop resilience and go through difficult things together as a family.
Yeah Yeah.
That's such a great point. Like showing that vulnerability. What a great lesson that is for your kids, because they're going to go through those challenges
Absolutely.
later on and all through their lives, right? So that's good on you for doing that. That's one of those lessons that really transfers over.
Yeah, it's a good point, Stevie, too, because it is reality, and we are all the same. That's for sure. So that's a great lesson, Craig.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting, right? Because I grew up in a house where not, and I say this not saying that my wife and I fight a lot, because we certainly don't. But I grew up in a house where I never saw my parents disagree, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was always, they were from that generation. I'm sure the number of disagreements and arguments that probably happened behind a closed bedroom door that me and my brother never saw. But it's okay. It's okay to disagree, and it's okay to show your kids how you work through those things as a couple, right? That's
good life lesson. Yeah, for sure. Okay, thanks, Craig. It's interesting, the ups and downs, as you mentioned. I'm curious, what kind of advice do you think you would give to dads who are kind of in whatever season of their child's lives? What kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, it's I'm not sure I'm one to necessarily give advice, but you touch on something there. It depends on the season, right? I love the way you phrase that. I think I made light of it earlier, but honestly, for those first couple of years, those kids need their mom. We are here to make sure mom is good and right, and take care of all those basic needs, and you just make sure that household is staying on track. Because frankly, for those first couple of years, the kids probably don't need you a whole lot other than to make sure mom is doing well. But as you get older, I think the biggest thing, probably the thing I'm going through right now with both my kids, and my kids are older, 26, 24. I think the thing I would encourage dads to really think about is there is a lot going on in the world right now, right? More than ever.
Yeah.
The three of us are probably exposed to far more news and far more instant hot takes on every subject under the sun that we never got when we were growing up. Yeah. Hell, we used to wait for the newspaper to show up on the doorstep at 5 p.m.
Exactly.
So you could see what happened,
true.
Right?
6 o'clock news.
The paper. That was one of my first jobs. I was a paper boy.
Yeah, and the news came on at 6, right? And that was the only news you had.
Yeah, 6 till 6:30, and then MASH came on, right? But I'm certainly dating myself now.
Yeah, we're all going back here.
I think the thing that where I'm going with that is there's so much going on. I think it's just really important for dads to be tuned into whatever their kids are tuned into, right? Mm-hmm. And really from the perspective of trying to listen to and understand what they are thinking about events in the world, whether you agree with their take or not, right? It's a matter of really, you really have to try and meet them where they are at, and try very hard not to impose, your thinking or your ideology. Like if you go back to when you were in your early 20s, comparing it to my time now, I don't think there was much at that time my dad could have told me that I would have said, oh, okay. Right.
Yeah.
Is very much a matter of, trying to listen, trying to understand, trying to pose questions that make them think about other things. But you're not going to necessarily change their mind. So don't try to. Just go along for the ride, but be tuned into what they're tuned into.
Yeah. Good point. Thanks.
So as you've been going along, what are some of the lessons learned that you've had being a dad? You talked about a playbook before, and it's so true. There's no course. There's some books, I guess, about being a dad, but man, oh man, there's so many variables. So yeah, it's curious with some of the lessons that you've had.
Yeah, there's so many great theories, isn't there? I think for me, the biggest thing that I've learned is you can control absolutely nothing. Right?
You could certainly try, though, can't you?
You sure can. And oh my gosh, the part of that lesson that I think is even more telling is that when you try to control, how much worse does it get?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I say that somewhat tongue in cheek. Obviously, you can control what you can do as a father to try and provide, right? Try and make sure that your house is taken care of, that there's food on the table, that there's shelter, all those basic needs. Those are the things you can, for the most part, control, right? Obviously, there's probably some fathers out there who are in situations that make that challenging for themselves. I'm not trying to generalize to everybody's situation. But you just can't control what they do. You can control, you can try and model. I've always thought the job of a parent is to make sure, one, that your kids are safe, but two, then to teach them how to make decisions, right? And if you teach them how to make a good decision, you then at some point have to trust that they're going to do it.
Yeah.
But trying to control the decisions that they make, you are going to just, it's such a weird job being a parent, because you want to do absolutely everything you can to take care of this person, to get them to the point where you get them out. You want them to always be able to come back, but you don't want them to stay forever.
Yeah.
Right. You want to create independent thinking people that can go out and leave their dent in the world. And, I think the biggest lesson for me that I struggle with, Steve, we've known each other a long time. I have control issues. I like things being the way I like them to be. And, as you get older and your kids get older and you're now 4 adults essentially living in the same house, it becomes really tough. Right.
Yeah.
And so, that's my biggest, I think that's my biggest lesson, is try not to control. Yeah.
Okay. When did you kind of realize that, Craig, that this control thing is just for naught?
Oh, probably when my wife told me for the 15th time that,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many times that come to mind when you go back to kids' sports, or things going on in school, or trying to, you so desperately, you're proofreading a paper for one of them, and you're seeing things that, just wouldn't be how you would write it, for example. But you've got to let them, the point is there, they're getting their point across. They're making their comments in the paper. It's not a terrible thing. They're not going to fail, but you just kind of, you can't solve it all. It's a good question, Paul. I don't know if there's a single moment where I went, oh, that was really a dumb thing to try in that moment. It's just kind of, it's a cumulative experience of, you want, like I say, you want kids that can make good choices. You want them to be independent thinkers, and at least I do. And for me, I've found that's just in direct contradiction with wanting to be able to control and protect. And I think that's where it comes from. It comes from a good place of wanting to be a protector, but
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So, Craig, if you had a redo, is there something you would do differently?
That's interesting. So, I think about this from the perspective of my kids have grown up through the transition into a social media age, right? I remember when back when my daughter first turned 13 or 14 or whatever it was, that you had to be, however old you had to be on Facebook, right? And at that time, where I'm going with this is that I think they're part of a unique generation that has gone through this transition. Kids that are growing up now are just growing up in it. And so where I think I would go back and be more attentive, more involved, is that online presence. What are my kids doing online? Who are they interacting with? How are they interacting?
Right.
Obviously when you take one of these and your kid can go squirrel away in their room with their phone or their laptop, you're giving up a ton of control.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll come back to that. But, I think, and my redo would be, and it's always tough when you think about this from the perspective of, obviously what we know now is not what we knew then.
Yeah.
But I think my redo would be try to be far more involved, far more insistent at being involved in whatever they are doing online. I think the damage from online can be significant.
Yeah, for
We've
sure.
gone through things with both kids where you wonder, was that social media, or was that us, or was it the combination? Like, just stuff like
Yeah.
it's tough to articulate it without getting too into the details, and I don't want to betray any of their confidence, but
Yeah.
that's my thing. Like, and I think parents now have the opportunity. There's so much more information out there about the harms of social media and all of it. Just be involved.
Yeah.
Try and help set those boundaries. Try and help them make good decisions about what they're doing online. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling on that one, but that's
No, it's a really important topic, Craig, because a lot of dads, especially some of the newer dads, their kids are born into the iPhone era versus being born just when it started coming out. And so I'm curious, so how did you how did you navigate through the iPhone, iPad kind of thing with your kids?
yeah. Well, I think one of the early days it was easy because there weren't that many platforms, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
had Facebook, if you remember way back then, and so the rule was that we had to be friends. We had to be online. Like, if they wanted to be on Facebook, that's great, but mom and dad had to be one of their Facebook friends,
Right. Right.
right? And we had, the rule back in the early days of, if we ever wanted to sit down and have you log us into your account to take a look at what was going on, you would do that, or you would lose it. As
Right.
much
Right.
as, you look back in hindsight now, as good grief, how easy would it have been for them to just reestablish another account without mom or dad ever knowing?
I was just sitting here going, that's exactly what our kids have done, I'm sure, because they got multiple
Yeah.
email addresses and they can hide anything, right? So,
Yeah. And so, there's some of those things. And I think we tried to, I think we were very lucky that we had great relationships with our kids, because we always would talk. And they bought into it. But then you do hit that period where I think every parent goes through that period somewhere in the teenage years where your kids go away from you for a while, right? They just
yeah.
they got to go find themselves. They got to go do their thing. Rebelling against dad is always the classic for the boys, and we went through that as well. But it's just, when there's now, Facebook, Instagram, bot, you name them. Like, I can't even keep up every day. I hear
Snapchat,
some
yeah.
platform and I go, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Guys, I think for me, it's just a matter of, the advice I would give is just keep talking and keep watching for signs. Trust your gut. If you think something might be off or something might be going on online, pressure test it. Don't be afraid to be a little insistent. Like, mental health is such a difficult thing to try and navigate. I don't know what your guys' experience has been, but man, that's probably been the toughest one, is just trying to help them with their headspace.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough. No.
because it never ends, with school, and then they come home and there's something going on at school, then that continues on their iPhone, on Snapchat or text messages until they go to bed, kind of thing, and you take their phones away from them. But that's the biggest challenge I see, is that it just never ends anymore.
No, it's 24/7,
Yeah.
right?
It absolutely is. Yeah. You can't get
And then I can only imagine, we didn't go through it, but I can only imagine now, if you were to be the parent that, somehow forced your kid off of all social media, how much of a mental pressure is that on them for being the one at school that isn't
Yeah.
online, right? That's perhaps an even bigger challenge. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're probably all sounding very boomerish. I'm not sure.
But it's an interesting perspective, because I watched a podcast, and it was Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's a big social media guy, and he said, when you take away your children's phones and tablets and you don't allow them to go on social media, you really eliminate possibilities for them, because you think about so many people who have had great careers started off on Facebook or YouTube. So if you use it to create a business or create an industry for yourself, that's really cool. And so it's always that bit of a balance. Like, what are you doing on social media? If you're just playing on Snapchat or whatever, Roblox, whatever it is every day, there's a difference. So it's one of those, okay, what are we doing and what are our kids doing? Right.
Yeah. And that's, for me, I think that's where I always came back to, or I say I go back to, there would be no I in father here. Well, there is no I in father, but without my wife, the number of times she has probably talked me off the ledge over something that I see them doing. It's just, and that's, it's, I feel for the single fathers out there. That partnership to be parents is so critical. So.
Well, I really appreciate your comments about your wife. Were you and your wife kind of always on the same track as a team? Did that make things easier for you?
Yeah, so we may be rare today, but we are high school sweethearts.
That's wonderful.
We met in grade 11 math class way back in the day. And well, guys, take a look at me. The first girl that showed interest, I latched onto. It might not have been much chance of somebody else saying yes.
She's a lucky woman.
But yeah, no, we've always kind of seen things the same way. She's an educator by trade. She did special education, individualized learning. So she really, perhaps maybe why she was happy to take me on as a project. But yeah, no, we've always kind of been on the same page. And, there's the kids, I can't really think of many times ever where the kids have tried to play us off each other, because they know we've always been a very strong, united front. Not that you want to think about it in terms of parents versus the kids, but we all know, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so,
like, that song, "Love is a Battlefield." I think it should be "Parenting is a Battlefield."
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
While you're talking about some of these, I'd love to hear, I'm sure you have some great funny stories, but any that you'd share about, being a dad, something funny that happened that you recall.
Yeah. Well, there's tons over the years, I'm sure, but I can recall one time, this must have been 15 years ago or so. Back whenever Wii was popular, the Wii game consoles.
Oh yeah, we had one of those.
Yeah, yes. We did too.
Yeah. If you go back even further, I had an Intellivision when I was a kid, but that's an entirely different conversation.
A pretty good life, man.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. I think I had a rock and a stick every summer. I got a new one.
Intellivision was the Atari rival. But anyway, I remember one night my wife and I were upstairs, we're making dinner, and we can hear the kids downstairs. They're playing something on Wii. And all of a sudden you can hear silence. And as a parent, when your kids are a certain age, when you hear silence,
something's up.
Something's not going well. And so then we just kind of stopped and listened. And then you could hear them saying, "Oh no, I've got to go tell them." And my son saying to my daughter, "Yeah, I think you do." And my daughter comes up the stairs in tears. And she's like, "Dad, I'm so sorry. We were playing Wii tennis, and we're standing too close to the screen. And I hit the screen with the Wii controller."
Oh, yeah.
And this was on my relatively new, nice 52-inch. This is how old this is now.
No,
rear projection TV, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, these things took up 3/4 of the room.
Yeah.
And so, all we could do in that moment is I go downstairs, and she walks up to the TV and she shows me, she's saying, "Yeah, there's a scratch about 2 inches long right in the middle of the screen." And I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Well, that's too bad. Sorry that happened. What did you learn?" "Yeah, we should be playing back here. We didn't have to be here. And then I said, well, it took a lot of courage to come up and tell us. So thank you for that. And then I went upstairs and promptly poured myself a couple fingers of whiskey and said, what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's the stuff like that. It's the stuff like that happens. But, in the moment, I'm sure I was probably, annoyed, ticked off inside. But what do you do?
Yeah.
Getting angry in the moment's not going to do anything. And it was actually one of those moments my wife looked at me and she said, you actually handled that really well.
So it's all about being in control. Yeah. It's in control of controlling feelings.
Yeah. But it's, you look back on it now and you go, hey, at least they knew the right thing to, the hard thing to do in the moment was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well, especially when you reassure them that you did the right thing and they're not in trouble, and they're not terrified of telling you, right?
Yeah. And, fortunately, the only time it ever showed up on that screen, that TV is now long gone, was when we were watching hockey. Because you get this nice dark stretch right in the middle of center ice. So, and it's not like I watch a lot of hockey. That's not true.
Yeah. You are an Oilers fan after all.
Yes, I am. Yeah. So, so for me, that was all about, they made good decision.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure my son was sitting back laughing, going, God, I'm glad that wasn't me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, you're dead. So, Craig, let me ask you this kind of as a final question. Knowing what you know now, and you see how there are some things that you've done that have been really, really great for your kids, what's a call to action for dads today that you would offer?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, it would be, and I don't know if this is a John Amici line, but it would be to turn your chair completely. And what I mean by that is, it goes fast. Like I say, my daughter's 26, my son is 24. Those moments where they want your attention and want to be with you, and want to engage, turn your chair completely and give them your time. Like how tough or how often have we as parents been busy, been in the middle of something? And it is so much easier now too, when you're a parent who can, work at home, can be quote unquote working while you're on your phone, and your kid walks into the room and wants to talk about something. And you're like, yeah, just a second, let me finish this email. Those moments go fast. So I think my call to action would be, as much as you can, try and just put your phone down, turn your chair, give them the time, look them in the eyes, just be there with them, because it goes quick.
Yeah.
So
it certainly does.
I love that quote.
Turn the chair. That is a great one. Yeah. I like that.
I'm not sure. I think it might be John Amici. I don't know. If it's not, then I'll take it.
It's Craig Hess now.
Yeah. We're just going to give it to you. We don't know anything.
You're going to get credit for it.
It's like Michael Scott on The Office, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. There you go.
That's right. Well, just want to, thank you again for taking the time today to talk to us, and such an important subject. Where our plan is really to tell stories about great dads and just share some of the things that dads feel, and everything you shared today really hit the mark for us.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you so much, Craig. Yeah. It's really great.
Thank you guys. I know, I appreciate it. And I think you're right. It's not talked about a lot. I think it's time to lean back into this conversation, and it's great to see you guys taking this on. So I'm honored to be considered worthy enough of the conversation, and hopefully somebody gets one thing from something I said today. So.
Yeah.
Setting the standards for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You.
Thank you, Craig.
Yeah. And have a fantastic rest of the day.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care.
You too. Thanks, guys.